day 2 of our Winchester weekend break. The weather just turned from the miserable grey that was day 1 to the most gorgeous day with just not a cloud in the sky. Here we are at Hyde Gate, one of the few parts of Hyde Abbey still standing. The gate was built sometime in the 1400s, whilst the adjoining barn or carriage house actually boasts stonework from the 1100s, which fits in around the time that major restoration work was needed after the damage caused by the war between King Stephen and Empress Matilda. Just a little further up the road, you arrive at the place where Hyde Abbey once stood. This etching gives you the most incredible idea of what the inside of the abbey looked like facing the high altar. And in a rather clever bit of landscape planning, the hedges line up to exactly where the columns would have stood, and the benches below is sort of the width of the archways which connected the columns. And I just think that's incredible because you get such an immersive experience for a ruin that no longer exists. I just think it's so clever. The grave markers that you see on the floor are a representation of the graves of Alfred the Great, his wife Elspeth and their son Edward, when their bones were moved here by Henry I at the time that he built the abbey in around 1110. But, of course, Hyde Abbey was destroyed in the dissolution of the monasteries ordered by Henry VIII, and the bones of Alfred and his family are now lost. Next, we head up to the Great Hall, once a part of the palace of William the Conqueror. But first, an unexpected and unplanned peek around some palace ruins.
What the hell? This isn't scary. Wow. Let's put a light on to see what we're going to see. The main attraction being, of course, what many have believed to be the round table of the legendary King Arthur. The table was built in the 700s or the 8th century, and Henry VIII had it painted in the 15th century. So we learnt that famous West Country Elizabethan Sir Walter Raleigh was about to be put to death by King James I in 1603 in this very hall, but it was rescinded at the very last moment, where he was instead imprisoned for a number of years. Around the back of the Great Hall, there's this beautiful, peaceful garden opened by Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mum, in 1986. Please exit through the long gallery. Next, we wandered over to the Westgate Museum. We decided to get the combi ticket because we were heading over to the City Museum later on this day. So the Westgate Museum is situated literally in the west gate of the medieval city walls of Winchester. Apparently, it's also stood on an old Roman gate when this was a Roman walled city. So that continuation of 2,000 years of history is pretty cool. I made the mistake of thinking that this was just a prop, only to be told that no, this is an actual real gibbet. Gross. The graffiti on the wall comes from a time when this was used as a debtor's prison between the 15 and 1700s. I mentioned in our Yorkshire Moors video that I just love old graffiti. I don't know why, I just love it. Read that this beautiful ceiling and the fresco dates from 1554. It was commissioned by Winchester College in celebration of Mary Tudor's marriage to Philip of Spain at the Winchester Cathedral.
Tiniest little door.
Up on the roof of the gate, you get a spectacular view of the city, staring straight down the road that was originally planned and put down by the Romans. And right at the end of the street, you have the statue of King Ælfred sort of staring back up at you. I just find that amazing. So when we were back down on the street, as you get a little bit overwhelmed about everyone marketing and selling and gossiping, all the things that we still do today on this same high street was done 2,000 years ago as well. Back to the Royal Oak for a quick refresh. The City Museum is located at the other end of the High Street near Winchester Cathedral. The museum houses finds all the way back from the Iron Age and 150 BC or before, all the way up to the modern period. I do think both the Westgate and the City Museums are worth checking out, especially because you can get a discounted price by buying a combi ticket for both on entry. Time for a spot of lunch? Love a ploughman's.
Butter's cold.
After lunch, we headed over to Winchester Cathedral. The cathedral was built in a number of phases beginning in 1079. This Norman cathedral stands in the same area of land as two older Saxon churches, which in 1094, after the Norman phase of the cathedral had been finished, were just completely destroyed. So these wooden boxes actually hold the bones of Saxon Kings and Queens moved from the two destroyed Saxon churches into this one by the Normans, which just completely blew our minds. We were not expecting to see this at all. We had no idea that they were here. I will list the names of the Kings and Queens that are in these boxes in the description box below. We were lucky enough to be able to join a crypt tour whilst we were here. This sculpture is called Sound 2 by Anthony Gormley, who is most famous for the Angel of the North. We learned on the tour that the crypt floods, so much so that in the Edwardian period, major restoration works had to be undertaken by one William Walker. This is a replica of the bones of Queen Emma, who is held in one of the Norman wooden boxes that we showed you earlier. It was so incredible to sort of come face to face with such a formidable character from history. Emma has such an amazing story that if you have any interest, I really recommend you check her out. This is the actual grave of Jane Austen. The William Walker pub is a fuller's pub next to the cathedral, named after that same Edwardian who practically saved Winchester Cathedral.
And we ended our second day back at Incognito. We didn't actually get any footage from our second visit there, so you just have to make do with some stuff we forgot to show you in our last video.